DNA analysis and identification. For families like Ponders, the wait for closure has once again opened old wounds that have been festering for too long. Enoxicoli, CGTN.
We're joined by Silas Kiriinya, a counseling psychologist and CEO of Amazon Counseling Center based here in Nairobi. Mr. Silas, welcome to the program. Let's first and foremost, what are your thoughts regarding more bodies being exhumed in southeastern Kenya in the past week?
Thank you so much. The recent exhumation, they are really deeply tragic, and they raise very serious questions about how vulnerable individuals can be. This, for me, I think is just beyond a physical death. It is actually a lack of trust for the very religious affiliations and institutions that are supposed to protect people and that are supposed to be sources of healing, probably. But then we are realizing that people are being manipulated so much, and therefore this is a sign of a failing in terms of the leadership in the institutions of religious affiliations. But I think also as a government and citizens, is a moment to really arise and ask ourselves, how can such things happen without anyone noticing to this level of such catastrophic kind of level?
Why do such things happen? That's the question. Let's delve into the psychology of cults. Why and what draws people to them despite the dangers?
It's our belief that when people actually go to visit such leaders or churches, go to churches, for example, or mosque, wherever they go to for places of worship, these are people who are vulnerable. These are people who are wooden. These are people who are going through difficult economic times. These are people who are suffering one or the other, and they are actually going to look for solutions. But then when they get into contact with the leaders of these occult, if we can call them so, the occult use a very serious psychology to be able to manipulate people. It's called the process of deception. And the process of deception begins with attraction. And attraction basically is like a bait, just making people feel like you have other solutions for what they are looking for, the problems that they've been having. Then secondly, once they have come, you isolate them. Isolate them from the society, isolate them from the loved ones. And after isolating them, you begin now to indoctrinate them. And this process of indoctrination, the leaders are so certain that what they are doing is to make sure that they can manipulate, for example, if it's sacred scriptures or whatever it is that they use, they can manipulate them, and therefore they are the ones who enthrone themselves, like what we call demigods. They become God themselves. And ultimately, now, once they have been able to indoctrinate the people, they can now get them to a place of dependence. A place of dependence is where they have to depend on the leader. That means they cannot make any decision against the leader. That means also they're intimidated with fear, such that if people were to go against what the leader says, they will actually probably be cast or even die or not ever enter the kingdom of heaven. So this is the psychology that they use to be able to manipulate people so that they cannot at any point be able to use their own reason and their probably faith and common sense.
Well, important points that you've made there. Thank you for bringing all of that there tonight. One final question before we let you go. Where do you classify Kenya's case, since it is the second case in 2 years? And what advice can you give to both the government and citizens?
The truth is that we are facing, I would say, a systemic national challenge. It is a crisis of spiritual deception that is happening in our society. And I think it's important as citizens and also as government to be able to investigate fully and probably to bring on board some policies that can regulate, not really, I wouldn't say taking away the freedom, but regulate the leadership of the churches and also the worship. That means it's necessary actually to discern and assess the kind of worship that is happening and the beliefs that are being held by the people. But also I think as a society, we can as well make sure that we trace, if for example, there is someone having what I would call weird kind of beliefs, for example, like they don't want medicine, their children will not go to school, or you can't tell anyone about the plans you have with your leader. If there is that kind of a secretism, I think it's important to actually bring it to the attention maybe of the local leaders, and then the local leaders are able to bring attention probably to the government, and therefore as one collective nation, we are able to find a way of addressing that. It's good also as individuals to make sure that whatever it is you believe in, it goes in line with the right reasoning. That means it is something that is well articulated, something that's critical, but also at the same time, something that is biblical. For example, if you're using the Bible for this case, it has to be in line with what the teachings of the Bible. But also it's going to be cautious if the leader is trying to isolate the people, isolate you from the family members, isolate you from your friends, isolate you from even other society in general. And then it is also important to seek faith that makes sure is a faith that also is known by the community, as not something that you just know by yourself and is in secret. Maybe that's what I would say as I conclude.
All right. Silas Kiriinya, counseling psychologist and CEO of Amazon Counseling Center. Thanks for that.